Hey guys, are we familiar with Asana, C, Saga, these projects? The answer is yes. These are projects that we have introduced in the previous videos and they have just issued tokens in Binance in recent months. Behind all these projects, there is one same venture capital fund, that is No Limit Holdings, and the fund established at the end of 2022. This fund performance is very fabulous. If we open their website, we can see that there are 28 projects on their invite portfolio, of which 3 are online Binance already. A staggering 10.7%. We all know that now the #1 fund is Binance Labs. The rate is only 11%. So this achievement is almost equal to Binance Labs and far more than other funds. And then the question is, why this fund so awesome? Because the founder, Jin, is not only the former boss of Binance Labs, but also the current director of Binance US. He's also a good friend of CZ, who's going to prison for 4 months. So today we are here going to talk with Jin about CZ's sentence. Hello, Jin. It's nice to talk to you here. I know that you are very successful in your career. You are the founder of No Limit Holdings and the director of Binance and also the director of CoinMarketCap. But today, I would like you to answer our question as a CZ friend. You know, our topic today is about CZ's 4 months present sentence after all. So anyway, I have read your letter to the court, and in all letters, your letter is the second one in the front part. And it was mentioned in that letter, you and CZ have been friends for more than 14 years. Can you briefly tell us about how you guys met and became friends?
Yeah, sure. And thank you, Cutie, for having me on your podcast here. It goes back to 2009 when I moved from US to Shanghai during the financial crisis. And ironically, this is the same global financial crisis that really created the need for Bitcoin. So that's the environment that I was in when I moved from the US to Shanghai. And I moved to join, to further my career here in China. And it so happens that I moved to a neighborhood in Shanghai, in Pudong, that CZ lived in as well. And we had some mutual friends. So we met through playing poker, actually. And through this poker game, we met a number of the early crypto OGs, and we both learned about Bitcoin around the same time. And so that's actually why my fund is called No Limit Holdings. It's a nod to the beginning of my crypto journey, which happened to include CZ in the early days. So that's how we met.
Oh, really? That's cool. Actually, printing cards can be the richest man in the future crypto industry. That's amazing. So, who is the better one? Who always wins?
It was a friendly game of poker. We played for many years. So we played almost weekly for years. So we played many times, and it was a friendly game. So sometimes he won, sometimes he lost, sometimes I won, sometimes I lost, sometimes other people won. So over the long run, I honestly wouldn't be able to keep track.
So you mean you are the better one at the beginning?
Well, how about I'll say this. When we first started playing, I had been playing for many years, and he was just getting started.
So you joined Binance also because of your proof of CZ?
Yes. Well, we knew each other beginning in 2009, and then he went full-time into crypto in 2013. He moved to Beijing. And right around that time, I moved to Beijing as well to join MBA China. And so we kept in touch throughout all this time about cryptocurrency, blockchain technology, what it would really mean. And so when he eventually launched Binance in 2017, he asked me to join, and I joined in 2018 as a strategy officer there.
You were asked to be the CFO and you didn't join, but you joined as the Chief Strategy Officer. We can see that you really like playing poker because playing poker requires to develop different strategies. So let's back to the topic 4 months sentence for CZ. Do you think the sentence is reasonable? Is that too much? Because we all know that the SEC has already fined CZ for $4.3 billion. There are a lot of people, despite that, the SEC doing this to get more money from CZ. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I'm not a legal expert. I'll say that first. But based on everything I've read and discussed with other lawyers, my understanding is that this is a pretty remarkable sentence because for this type of um, plea, this is a compliance issue around not complying with U.S. Bank Secrecy Act and specifically anti-money laundering. When these rules have been broken in the past, no one has ever spent prison time, is my understanding. And so this is really quite a landmark decision. Generally, it's a fine, and they got a very, very large fine from Binance. And in the past, it's been probation. For example, Arthur Hayes is the closest direct comparable situation. And so I think the prison sentence is quite different here and quite remarkable. The term 4 months, I think, was probably on the lower end of what was recommended by the prosecutors, but even any prison time is quite a message, I think, that's being sent by the U.S. government. So that's a little bit unusual and I think unfortunate for CZ. Whether it's too much time, I I don't know because you will have to see how other cases happen in the future to measure relativity. Because if no one else ever sees prison again for similar situations, then it's definitely too much. But if they start to reset the bar and give this as a regular sentence, then I don't know. But this is definitely a precedent. As far as the SEC's intentions, this particular case actually does not include the SEC. So the fine that's being paid is actually to a bunch of other agencies, CFTC, DOJ, a number of other ones. But this is separate from SEC cases, is my understanding.
We know that the DOJ initially applied for the 36 months in prison, and now the court finally sentences it for 4 months. Do you think such a punishment result is because of the letters you wrote played a role?
That's difficult to say. I followed some of the court hearings live, and I heard the judge mention that a big part of his consideration were all the letters that were written. He had over 160 letters of support. I was happy to provide one of those letters. So it sounded like it helped a bit because it established CZ as a high integrity character, very low risk of reoffending. So this is not something he's going to repeat. He's learned his lesson here. So I think all those letters helped. And then I think the judge coming at 4 months in that context seems like a much better position. But again, the fact that there was any prison time and not probation is pretty remarkable. So, but I leave that for legal experts to analyze because I don't have enough context. Other than that, I don't think any executive has ever faced prison time for this type of infraction.
So do you know any of the others who also wrote the patient letters?
I'll be honest, I didn't read all of them, and I looked briefly at the list. I know a number of them pretty well. I was colleagues with some of them as well at Binance, so I probably recognized about maybe 20 plus of the names.
Yeah, so how do you think about the future of Binance? Will CZ quit Binance in the future? I saw CZ tweet that he wants to start a new chapter in his future, maybe education. Sounds like he's going to get retired. I know you hold a lot of BNB coins. Will you continue to hold it?
Well, let me start with the first couple of questions. Well, CZ, as part of his agreement, has had to step down as CEO. There'll be U.S. monitoring Binance over the next 5 years. I believe he may have an opportunity after that to rejoin, but I'm not sure, what his level of interest or participation would be at that point. I think for now, he is focusing on Giggle Academy, which he announced as his new education project. It's a nonprofit to provide underprivileged children and, frankly, anyone underprivileged an education that's focused on work skills. So I think that's a really interesting area for him to focus on. He's also talked about exploring biotech and using blockchain technology to help cure some diseases. So I think that's another great use of his time and resources. But as far as Binance goes, I think it has a pretty bright future. It obviously took a hit over the last couple of years throughout this process and has lost quite a bit of market share. But that said, it's still the largest exchange, and now moving forward with the current leadership, I think they're in the right position to make sure that they stay compliant. They're going to be under U.S. monitorship anyway, so I think that will again give them additional credibility going forward. So I think they're actually in very good position going forward. As far as BNB, I don't want to give any investment advice, but BNB's always been a good performing token for me, and I'll just leave it at that.
Now the fine has been paid and CZ is going to the prison. Does this mean that Binance is totally compliant in the United States?
Well, to clarify, there's Binance is no longer accepting U.S. users, and that's been the case for a while, and that's why Binance U.S. as a separate entity serves those users. So as far as past compliance issues, that's been put to bed with this case, and as far as going to the future, the U.S. will be monitoring Binance, meaning the global company, for the next 5 years, and as long as it stays that way, stays clean and compliant, then I think they have sort of the stamp of approval to operate. They'll need to do other things if Binance as a global company wants to serve U.S. users. In the meantime, U.S. users that want to use Binance as a service, they can only go to Binance US, which is a different entity.
So what impact do you think this will have on our crypto industry? Is today's Bitcoin's decline related to this event? Will it be a better boost for the industry in the long term?
That's a good question. I don't think it's had any immediate impact on the prices. I think if you look at the last couple weeks, there's been a little bit of a pullback since the Bitcoin halving. Arguably, some of today's price decline may have been the lackluster performance of the Hong Kong ETFs that were launched. So the demand was much lower than expected there. So there's a number of factors. But I think generally the decision today is really a culmination of many things that happened really several years in the past. So I think the clarity here was kind of evident back in November when CZ pled guilty. This is just a matter of what his ultimate sentence was. It's a little bit of a signal, I guess, from US's stance on this, but most crypto projects are not, tokens from centralized exchanges or derive their value from a centralized exchange business model. They have very different models, very different types of utility and governance. So over the long term, I think this doesn't impact crypto prices now or going forward. Is it overall better for the industry? Well, I think it's one step towards more compliance by countries like the US, and you see the MiCA framework in Europe. It can be good and bad. In one way, it may give new users that were nervous about this technology, maybe gives them a little more confidence. On the other hand, a lot of these things create more friction. So over the long term, I think is still yet to be seen, because despite all of this, the U.S. still hasn't created new policy specifically for this technology. They're still relying on very traditional regulatory frameworks, which may not be best for this technology. So right now, I don't think today's sentence really will have have any impact on the industry over the long run. It's just a settlement on past past actions.
I know that you are now setting up your own fund named No Limited Holdings, which mainly invested in some early Web3 projects. Will this incident affect the returns of your fund? Will it change your investment strategy in the future?
No, I don't think so. I don't think, like I said, these events impact the overall industry or prices. As far as our investment strategy, it's very different. We're a native token fund, so we're not investing in equity positions of centralized entities. But it may, for now, have us look a little bit harder about how U.S.-based projects are structured and what their long-term plans are, because there are reasons to make sure that you're structured in a way that's going to be compliant with U.S. or otherwise just not serve U.S. users, which would be unfortunate. But I think those are types of plans that projects have already been making. So yeah, from where I sit as an investment professional, doesn't change any factors that we haven't already considered.
Oh, the time flies so fast. At the end of the interview, can you give us viewers a sentence? Most of our audience are industry participationers. Is there anything you'd like to tell everyone?
Yeah, well, I think in general, what the message I'd like to send to people is that this is still very much early stages in our industry's growth. If you look at the last 10 years, it was really the infancy stage, and we're just now getting to the point where we're getting close to the tipping point, and what follows a tipping point will be mass adoption. And so this is where people are looking for very useful applications of the technology. I think so far a lot of infrastructure has been built to make sure the technology is capable for large scale applications. And I think the next phase we'll start getting to some very interesting things to build on. And I hope we start moving from speculation and price discovery and liquidity providing into these types of applications that made really the internet move from basic applications like email and search into what we use today, which is invaluable. So I hope everybody keeps that long-term view in mind and is excited about all the opportunities in this industry.
Thanks for your precious time. Today's time is limited. Let's talk here. I heard your fund might be able to get your investors a 15 times return this time. That's fabulous. Later, if you have free time, I would like to invite you to our channel again to talk about your investment strategy in the Web3 application. Is that okay?
Sure, would love to. Thank you.
Okay, I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everyone. Bye, Jin.
Okay, guys. Thank you.